All right, YouTubers, I'm going to put out the short version here, mostly going over the second session on my Patreon page. I got the full, I go over both the first and second sessions and talk about it along with, this is, I'm going to be talking about this project I just finished here with Dustin. I call these my vacation targets, where I can take a vacation and just go out and explore somewhere in the universe in between projects here. But before I go into everything, do a plug for my buddies, crypto viewing team, my pals, Dick Allgaier, Daz Smith. We are the remote viewers for the crypto viewing team, working blind targets every single week. Crypto targets, future targets, woo-woo targets, non-woo-woo targets, targets of all kinds, cool stuff, interesting stuff, important stuff being done by this team. I'm very proud to be on this team. I love these guys. Shout out, hey, what's up, Daz? What's going on, Dick Allgaier? How's it going, buddies? Second plug for my buddy also on the crypto viewing team, our announcer, Dennis Nappy II, just released his book. He's been working on this for years. I Am Human, Food for the Archons, Humanity's Psychic Connection, Simulated Realities, Parallel Worlds, and the Manipulation of Mankind. Epic book. I'm getting mine signed by the author. I can't wait. I'll have a link below. This book is available now. It's awesome. I'll have the link below. You can get yours as well from my buddy Dennis Nappy. Great book. Very proud of him, and I can't wait. I'm happy for him that he got this done. Okay, this is the quickie version for this target that I just finished with Dustin. This was epic, epic. It's about 9 sessions. The target, let me just read it here a little bit. There's a target queue. Initiate contact, perceive, describe, and draw the target described in the Mahabharata epic as the Subha Vimana built for the king of Salwa and used to destroy the city of Dwarka and population therein. This is a flying machine that is talked about in the ancient Sanskrit text from, I believe these date back to 1200 BC, I believe. I think there are accounts where they go back even hundreds of thousands of years. The Bhagavad Gita is inside of these Sanskrit manuals. These are ancient texts, ancient manuals in the Indian Hindu, um, their scriptures and their ancient writings. I'm not all that familiar with it. I'm learning as I go here, especially after this epic remote viewing project that was like an adventure out of a movie going through this. Okay, that's the target specifics. Also tasked in here is for the viewer, me, to perceive and is, let's see, in addition to the queuing and as detailed in the specifics, the viewer perceives and is informed by any temporal energetic signal associated with relics, ancient runes, Vedic source material, which comes through in the first couple sessions, trace genetic memories, trace memories of the consciousness involved. That comes about session number 3 and beyond, or any existent physical components. Variables, along with those top ones, are a lot of location variables here. Any available perceptions of the event described in the destruction, landmarks of the target, landmarks of the destruction of the city. A lot of them are landmark things. Also, components of the flying machine that are perceivable. Any available perceptions on the event of the target's destruction or the destruction of the flying vehicle. Tangential clues unknown to Vedic history to help uncover historical truths about the target, its use, and events around its involvement in the destruction of Dwarka, the ancient city. So this is the ancient Vedic history in these texts. This is a monumental tasking. Viewing parameters, the viewer aptly perceives only the intended target as it is specified in the specifics, time trace, and variables. The viewer describes only signal as it exists related to this target and the intended stated tasks and time frames. This is an epic target. We're dealing with a very vast ancient history as it was accounted in these ancient Sanskrit texts. Okay. The first session, I'll go real quick through the first one. This first session, this was such an epic project that I felt like I was in a movie. I felt like I was in a movie. And like Stargate, the movie Stargate, where it starts out in this, he's doing this lecture, and then somebody in the lecture hall is interested in what he's saying, and then boom, he's on this adventure. That's what the first session reminded me of. I'm working through some proprietary protocols here that I'm developing for myself that are based on the Pi session, and I'll talk about those later on. But here I go, and I'm in some type of lecture hall. Somebody's talking about something. It's people are listening. There are people from all over the world. They're gathering, and they're interested. And what's with this speaker? He's talking about some kind of microcosm or some cosm of some kind. People around the world. It's information. It's knowledge. People are watching this guy. Something divided. Whatever this person is talking about, the topics. There's something about it that feels divided to me. I got this halo of the signal, very interesting, like a magic show. What does that mean? Somebody's on stage and they're doing some sleight of hand and you can't see what's happening behind the stage. That was interesting. I'll go further into that later on in the additional sessions. The heavy stuff I put on my Patreon for those who want to check those out. I'm dealing with a talk here. What are they talking about? They're talking about life and organisms and all kinds of things. The target has something to do with the presentation. There's some problem. Is it planetary? There's something big here. Something here that is spellbinding people. That was very interesting to me. Let me get to this next session here. This gets very interesting. This is where my curiosity gets pulled in. I took a break. I came back. I was interested in something being introduced and presented. What's it all about? Ideas that are coming through. This is I have several favorite parts in this project. This is the first of the favorites of what I was going through, wrapping my consciousness and my brain and my neurons in my brain around this massive storyline. I'm getting ideas, concepts. An idea, where does it come from? But wherever it comes from, it comes through a human's mind. It's coming through them and it's going into the audience. This is curious to me, how an idea comes into being from beyond the thought realm. It's coming from somewhere. I'm interested in ideas. The realm from which the idea originates outside of the body of the human. There it is. It exists here. The human reaches or is hit by it and is saturated by it. This here is now inside of the human. The person is overwhelmed with the idea and overtakes their mind. It's the process. But I'm okay, fine. What am I dealing with here? I'm dealing with some type of an idea here. What does that mean? What's the idea? I go through a process. This is my proprietary thing of how I trigger my own curiosity. And there's the mind space. There's the idea this person is overwhelmed by this mind projection. Where does it come from? It's like an old mind projection. This part feels old to me. Old being just a term because there is a timelessness to whatever it is. The enormity of this target is starting to come through my mind. And I'm seeing how this idea moves through time from generation to generation along the timeline. Like it's moving through time, hitting people along the line, not to the next person. This is my aesthetic impact. This is very interesting to me. But what is the thought? What is this thing traveling? What is this concept traveling through time? It's like a filter on the world. You see through it. It's like goggles, like an applied knowledge or presentation. It's like a presentation. Its transmission has resonance. The individual requires similar resonance to receive the transfer. That's very important. This could be seen as the mind of a god or ancient being. It's like getting a helmet put on, changing minds, filtering through the mind. It could be seen as the mind of a god. That's the target here, along with the flying device. Let me get my sheet here, if I can find it. The target is the device used in this account by these two Indian gods, Salva or Salva, and his arch nemesis Krishna. Krishna being the good guy and this guy being the bad guy, an ancient story of good and evil. Either they existed or it's a story about light and darkness doing battle. Is that what it is? But the story here that I was asked to remote view is based on a story out of these ancient texts about a battle between Krishna and this Salva character, the bad guy, the light versus the darkness, and how they were fighting in these flying machines. And they were battling it out in the sky. These machines were called the Vimana. There's a lot of information out of, well, there's not a lot of information out about them. There's some information out about them in Ancient Aliens and stuff like that about this account. But this is what's interesting as I'm getting started here in this target. It can be seen as the mind of a god. And this Krishna comes up a little later on. I think in the next session is where I start to hit on this who this was. In my opinion, from these sessions, this was an actual person, not from here. I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm going to go into that later. But right off the bat, this could be seen as the mind of a god. Now again, these are stories that have been transmitted through time. Some even say these stories go back hundreds of thousands of years. How do they do that? They still exist. They infiltrate people. People then share them with other people. Like this. Or where's my better? I got a better drawing of it. Like that. So this is where I'm starting here. I'm in the mind of a god, and I go into that. It's very interesting. Again, I wasn't into Indian Vedic history. After doing these now, I'm interested in Krishna, and from my sessions, as you'll see coming up, um, from my sessions, I feel that Krishna was a real being. All right, that's it for this. The full stuff is on Patreon. Check it out if you wanted to subscribe. Also, shout out to my buddies here at the Crypto Viewing Group, where we got tons of stuff on there. And go check out and get your copy of Dennis Nappy's I Am Human, Food for the Archons. Awesome book. Check that out. Many more to come.